All right, guys, welcome back to the podcast. Back again, super consistent with these now. So we are also going to be joined by a guest today, as you can probably tell by the title, a fantastic guest in the form of a newly found IFBB pro. I'm sure plenty of you have followed Josh's journey over the course of this year. Fantastic series that he did, The Time Is Now. I'm sure that's pretty much embedded in your brain, The Time Is Now. I'm sure it is in mine. The time is now for your mum to arrive in the podcast.
Hello, Mum.
Hello.
Say hi to the podcast.
Hi, everyone. Hope you're healthy and fit.
Love it.
I've missed your mum from the YouTube videos, man. She used to appear on
Mum's
quite a few of them.
Yeah. Scatty is everything, anything, but I love it.
See you later. Love you all.
Oh, you can't say that to people.
All right.
Amazing.
So yeah, me and George just sort of kicked things off. George has had a quite a sort of a hectic day, a hectic sort of couple of months. But things are looking on the up, aren't they, mate?
Yeah, for sure. It's clean slate for me. For people that don't know, I've just recently came out of a relationship today or yesterday. And for me, it's just holding me back, and one thing which I want people to realize is that in life, if there's someone I'm going deep here early on in the podcast, but if you're in a situation right now that, you're not enjoying what you're doing and you don't want to be there, and, you do stuff and you think, I don't really want to do this, but I'm going to do it for other people. That is a bad sign, and you get into bad habits and you constantly do. Like, I've always been a yes man. My whole entire life, always put other people in front of me. And it's got to a point where, like, now my health has been the worst it's been in forever. I've never been this unhealthy, which scares me. And a lot of it is to do with stress. A lot of it is to do with not prioritizing myself and putting others in front of me. And I've finally made that decision to do what I want and focus on me as a person and improving my brand. Because it got to the point, where it's affecting my business. It's affecting what I enjoy doing. And at the end of the day, I always come first. And that's the fundamental thing. And yeah, it could have got a lot worse. Mortgages we're talking about, marriage, kids, and that's, commitments that unfortunately I wouldn't be able to get out with just like that.
No. Yeah.
So for me to identify that now has been quite big for me. And funny enough, mate, ever since I stopped smoking, it's opened my eyes up. It's like I said, I was in like a delusional sort of world where I would just do these sort of things to make other people happy, and I, smoke away all my issues, that sort of stuff. And ever since I stopped, I'm like, what am I doing? What am I doing in this relationship? Why am I not happy? Why am I doing this? Why am I doing that? And for me to have a clean slate, like, I've not cried. I'm not going to cry. It was meant to happen ages ago.
Sure.
In fact, I probably should have, as bad as it sounds, I probably should have done it after when I was prepping, because we did.
Yeah, I remember that show day, man. I remember that.
Yeah, that was a hard, and it was I'm not going to go too much into it, but there's been plenty of things that have happened, and I should have called it quit then and focused on myself, but I don't regret it at all. I've learned from it for sure. And I know now that moving forward, things are just going to be way better for me in the future, both physique, career, business, everything is going to be, I'm going to be happier as well. And I'm so much happier now. I feel I've just got all this weight off my chest. And funny enough, my stomach feels better. So it just goes to show how stress impacts everything. Yeah, it's taking me now. Like, I used to, when people say they're stressed, all this sort of stuff, I used to brush it off. Stress, manage it. You can do that. But it really impacts a lot of things in your life, a lot of things. So I'm glad I've been able to identify it, mate, early doors and get out of there. Although we had good times, bad times, but for me, the bad times were outweighing the good times now, and it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah.
It wasn't worth it, for sure. So.
And you know what, like, just for the listeners as well, or viewers, I did ask George off air whether he wanted to discuss this. And I think it's really solid of him to want to have discussed this at least a little bit and just touch on it, because, often it's quite easy just to sort of push these things aside, not really discuss them, but this is real life. This is a situation where you could be a listener now, you're on a walk, you're doing your steps, and you're like, shit, I'm not actually happy. What the hell am I doing? And if George has helped you realize that, by saying his story a little bit, obviously not going into loads and loads of detail because there's no purpose behind that. It's his private life, but giving people sort of the understanding that, when things aren't right, things should change. I think that's a really, really important message.
Yeah, for sure. 100%. yeah, I've just, like I said, like just open up your eyes and look after yourself, and don't fall into the trap of being the yes man all the time and doing this and doing that. And it's just like your health and your happiness comes first. And if you are young, you know, you've got so much to look forward to. Like, I'm only 24. I've got so much of my life to look forward to. And I just, you know, holding me back with bodybuilding. You know, I'm thinking next year I'm going to compete. What's it going to be like? And for me, don't get me wrong, I'm guilty as well in our relationship. I'm not going to sit here and go, I'm the perfect person, because there are moments and there are things that I need to take responsibility of that have caused the reason why we are where we are today. Sure. But for sure, like I said, if I can, you know, if you're listening and watching this podcast and going, actually, I'm not happy, like you said, AJ, and you can take that step in changing that, then for me, that's great. If you can work on yourself or improve on yourself or tell someone, actually, no, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this instead because this is what I want to do. Yep. Again, it's massive. And stop going, oh, I'm going to do this just to keep you happy and keep the tension low and not cause arguments. Fuck that for a laugh. Yeah, you shouldn't live your life like that. You know, you shouldn't live your life like that. So onwards and upwards, mate. I'm happy. We've got good Wi-Fi now. We ain't got to worry about fucking lagging
Hey, honestly,
out.
that's the best thing.
Yeah, it's the best thing that came out of it.
Yeah, for sure.
The Wi-Fi. So yeah,
cannot wait. We can actually probably get back to like reviewing some lifts. We could, you know, invite guests and you can ask questions and not be an hour behind on the discussion. It's phenomenal. So yeah, talking to guests, we've got Josh in the waiting room, so we'll let him in. I might do a little bit of an update on where I'm at a little bit at the end of the episode if we get time. But yeah, we'll get Josh on in and see where he is at this stage.
Yeah,
time is now.
The time is now.
The time is now.
Hello.
Here he is.
Hello.
How are we doing?
How are things, Josh?
Not too bad, mate. Not too bad at all.
You've been all over the place recently, haven't you? You just got back.
Yeah. I went to Mallorca for a few days. It was actually the only time that my missus could get off, so we literally just leapt at the chance and went away.
Good fun.
Yeah, it was really nice. It was nice just to chill out for a little bit and just get something different than England.
Yeah.
You were having like 100 Cokes.
Oh, bro. I like fully had the demon in me, the fiend in me. I was like, I need another one. I was like, it's only fucking midday. I at least want 2 more after that.
It's like having a spliff, mate.
That's what it felt like, honestly. I was like, oh, bring up all those memories of when I was younger. I used to absolutely hammer it.
You've done quite a few preps now, Josh. Have you found that, you know, doing these things like going on holiday post-show, gaining weight a little bit faster, for someone that, you know, I know how dedicated you are and routine you are, have you found that it's easier just to sort of say, right, this is an important part of the post-show process?
You know what? Like in 2019, I found it quite hard because I hadn't really done what I'd set out to do. I knew that it probably wasn't possible.
Right.
But that still doesn't stop me from being like highly competitive. And I kind of just didn't really, I still relaxed. I still ate a lot of food, but it didn't feel earned. It didn't feel like I felt like I had unfinished business. So I was kind of very just focused on getting back. But this time, like I was like, cool, I've done what I need to do. This is needed. And I can chill out a little bit. But I mean, after 5 days, I was ready to go back. So
sorry, AJ. I've watched the whole series, mate, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. And it's weirdly enough, I used to say the time is now, and I kind of knew it was now. Like I had some sort of vibe when I was watching your video. I was thinking the time is now for Josh. Did you obviously had that plan that this year to turn pro and achieve, and obviously you did that. But my question to you is did you expect it? Like, did you expect it to be not as easy, because it wasn't easy at all, but did you expect it to be as straightforward as what it was?
I think that was a moving opinion. Like that was a moving opinion as I went through the prep. So at the start, like I knew there was a lot of pressure on this year. I knew, like, for myself, I expected it, like not expected it as in like it's gonna happen, but like I expected it from myself to have put in what I need to put in to be able to get it, like an adherence point of view. But obviously the pressure built, and you do obviously think like it's you don't know who's going to turn up and whatnot. I had expectations for each show. Obviously Portugal was my first, like, the pro qualifier that I didn't necessarily know what was going to go on, and you don't really know unless you get feedback from someone who's watching, because you look backstage and everyone looks fucking massive. They always do, regardless of how big they are. They all look massive, and you're like, shit, what's going on here? And then as soon as the judges moved me into the middle, I kind of knew, okay, cool. They want me for the top spot, and it kind of, from there, I didn't expect it, but the confidence grew to knowing that I'm at that level now, and that was kind of the main difference this year for me. I couldn't say I expected it though.
God, AJ, I know
Do you think the importance of going into it with that mindset though is pretty key? Like, you started 100%. Off the series with the timers. Now you knew in your own head that you're gonna get the job done.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I knew, like, I've always felt like I've been pretty realistic, and like, I kind of knew what was going to happen in 2019. I knew that I'd be good enough to win an overall in the regional. I knew that I could nip a bro card on a very lucky day, but most likely it's not going to happen. I need the size. This one, I was like, right, it's happening. I'm going to make this happen. And every ounce of me believed that from the moment that first video was made, Before that, the moment I walked off stage 2019, I knew that I wasn't going to come back unless it was undeniable. That's what we said in 2019,
What's it like being a pro?
Yeah.
So you getting excited already, mate?
Yeah, you know what? Like, I think a lot of people say I'm the same guy as before, and like I am, but it truly, like, it made me not like I didn't believe before, but it gave me that nail in the coffin. Like, this is what I'm here to do. This is what I'm on this fucking planet to do right now. This is my everything right now, and I'm right to have believed that it was my everything for the last 5-6 years that I've been working for it, and it was quite really kind of relieving for me to get to that position. Like, right, this sacrifice that I've made for the last 4, 5, 6, 7 years, it is going to be worth it, and I know it.
I get that. I think for me, obviously you've enjoyed yourself, you've relaxed, and obviously you're going to do that by any means. But there's so many opportunities that pro card gives you, right? With, going into pro shows, and just even putting IFBB Pro in your profile, or even on YouTube, like just putting that on there, that gives you that whole opportunity to open up to a bigger, better audience. So, that's a big thing for you. That's a big thing. And for sure, I've been in that position where you put so much work in and you go like, is this ever going to get rewarded? Am I ever going to get to where I want to be? But now you've got that pro card, like you said, this is what you put on this is what you've been put on this planet to do. And for me, that really opens up your eyes to so many things. So honestly, mate, I've never been, it sounds quite gay and soppy and that, but I've never been so happy for someone, if that makes sense.
I must admit, I'm the same, man. I'm the same, definitely, 100%. Very, very happy. Because you know how much you deserve it as well. That's the thing. Like, you can just see the effort level, and when the effort level gets rewarded, that's what everyone loves to see, and that's why I think you gathered so much positive traction through the series. It was really, really cool to watch, mate.
Just want to keep carrying it over. Like, I just want to represent the sport like the way it should be. Like real hard work. Go out and chase those dreams that you don't think are possible.
And you're honest as well. Like, you're honest about most things. Like, I've noticed as I've got older, like when I was 17, 18, not a lot of professionals talked about the assisted side of things, stuff like that, but it's very refreshing. And you've even educated me, and I've understood a lot of it through you just being very honest as well. So I think you're one to really follow. And I think that's going to take you quite far, because it's a very unique thing being honest like that in the sport. Because obviously you have to have limitation with sponsorship, stuff like that. But for you to say, no, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing and being honest, I think that's going to take you really, really far, for sure. My next question is, how much do you gain post show?
We're 4.5 weeks now. It's 12 kilos. I think like, I got veins in my abs. I'm pretty lean. I think
that looks still good.
I think the one thing that I think the drugs do play a part for sure. But one thing that I notice, right, is what I think happens, and this could be complete bro shite. I feel like I build muscle on prep, but it's really hard to fill it out with like a couple of days of feeding. But when you do 5, 6, 7 days of feeding, and you really feel like 3, 4, 5, 6 kilos out, and I'm like, oh shit, like this is like muscle I didn't even think I had. So I almost feel like of that 12 kilos, right, cool, 2 or 3 kilos of water, 4 or 5 kilos of fat, but some of that is like the muscle that I built on prep, especially being assisted as well. And I noticed that the last time I just filled up and I was, okay, you lose the midsection a little bit. But compared to when I was natural, I'm like, whoa, like this is muscle that I just didn't think I really had. And I kind of just filled that out later on. I know that like Jared Feather, like his carb ups are mad. Like he literally goes up like 7-8 pounds when he carbs up. And like for me, I was a new low weight in after being carved up on stage. So I guess there's a lot to it. It takes a lot to fill out.
It's a learning curve as well.
I think this is the argument for being in a position where you can reverse all the way into some shows, because I totally agree with you in the sense that I don't think you can realistically get all the way full with 3-4 days. I think you need multiple weeks of spending time at caloric maintenance, ideally. I mean, if obviously, people like Jared might go hard for like a couple of days to a very aggressive backload and might get that sort of like super compensation style look, which obviously looks very visually appealing as well. But the people that I've seen peak the best ever been the people that have got all the way in and then spent 3 weeks eating at maintenance.
Yeah.
And they look like they've literally done what you've kind of done. They look like they've almost gained muscle because they are totally saturated, It's very hard to do that though. It's almost like hardly any prep run like that. It's just you work with a schedule and you get to a point where you peak and that's it, apart from George's, and then but if you just continue to do all the expenditure, then you'll just drive yourself into the floor.
And complain why you're looking like shit. But there we go.
Yeah. Josh, I had a question about sort of like your process during the prep. Is there anything that you look back on now and you think could have done that differently or better, or what improvements would you sort of look to have within the prep process for next time?
I think there's a few things that I'd want to improve on. Granted, I think a lot of it was like, we're talking like tiny minuscule details at this point, but I think I put a lot. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I put a lot of psychological pressure on myself, or mental pressure, which however you want to say it. I put a lot of, I mean, granted it kind of warranted because of the way that it fell, but I think towards the end, I think like I had quite a lot of food focus, quite a lot of almost uncontrollable, which I've never really had. Like I've just consciously made the decision to eat, but this time it was really difficult, and I wonder whether I just pushed myself so hard mentally that I had to rebound some way, and my way was just the food.
Right.
I mean, yeah, like I'm fine now 4.5 weeks later, but it took me 4.5 weeks and a holiday to sort of get it under control. That's the only thing that I can think of is that pressure that I kind of just fueled it into the food focus, and that was just the wrong way to fuel it, because it comes back out not necessarily awful on the way out, but like no doubt the food choices that I've been having haven't been helping me too much over 4 weeks. But other than that, I want to get a Stairmaster. That's what I want. That's what I want to get. The bike just absolutely blew my knees out.
Right.
And I kind of.
You think the Stairmaster would be maybe slightly better?
Yeah, I don't know what it is for me. I feel like you can spend different time of the Stairmaster, like some of it coming through the glute. Not that it's mainly mental. You can push a little bit more the heel, a little bit more the toe. And plus, it's just when it gets to those depths of prep, getting your heart rate high enough for me was quite difficult. On a bike, I was just brutally blowing my legs out, and I didn't want to swap because I didn't want the difference to be too much in calories, and you overthink it all. And I'm just like, I'm just going to suffer through it. And like and what I probably should have done is, Cal, should I just swap this for this? And he would have gone, yeah, do that. But
my question about the food focus side of things, like I know obviously, and this is quite a big topic lately about the, if it fits your macros versus a cleaner diet or whatnot. And obviously know that Brightman, TM Cycles, yourself, you've used that. I think I remember seeing you having a protein bar on prep, because that was it. I think it was a protein bar of some sort. And I was thinking, if I had that would send me nuts. Like I would be like thinking, what's going to happen with my look, the scale weight, this and that. Could you obviously, do you think that's contributed as to why maybe post show you've taken 4.5 weeks to control things, because those sort of things that you're sort of drip feeding in, you just couldn't control post prep?
For sure.
Or was it a case of you just kind of knew you was a pro, I'm just going to enjoy myself?
Yeah, there's definitely an element of that, but like, yeah, 100%. I think I think I kind of just was trying to give myself things that were trying to hit the spot, but they never fully would. So I kind of was constantly thinking about how that spot's going to be hit straight after these shows. But like, I don't think that overly contributed, because like, largely speaking, like I didn't even have protein bars. Like, I probably had 3 or 4 on this whole prep because they take up too many calories. Like, for I want to fuel myself properly. So it wasn't like really, really bad choices at any point. I made a bit of protein ice cream every now and again. I don't really get triggers like that. It was more just a sensation of just like, I want my belly to be full. So I didn't necessarily wonder or worry what was going in. It was just, I was just grabbing things that are empty, like half empty out of the fridge, you know, like I don't even eat that shit normally. I'm just going to eat it, sort of type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that sort of diet, don't get me wrong, I like to be very regimented with eating the same foods every single day, because I know like I can live without that sort of stuff for a while. But as much as I don't necessarily like it, it works. You've proven that style of, and a lot of the boys this year have proven that style of dieting actually works. And I think maybe it's actually opened up I'm not saying, you know, everyone's going to do it now, but I certainly believe that you have influenced a lot of people to start maybe going down that route and implementing that sort of diet as well. My question sort of for there is like, do you think you could have maybe been better this year if you didn't follow that route? Obviously, it's very hard to say, isn't it? But, you know, with my mindset, I'm like, right, if I want to be the best, I'm going to have to do what the best does. But that's technically not true. But at the same time, I'm thinking it works. It does. So is this something that you know, want to promote more? Or is it something a case of, you know, maybe when you turn pro, because obviously now you're a professional, you need to level up your game as a professional. Would you follow a diet like that going into a pro league, you know, that sort of stuff? Because other people around you, the best in the world, do you think they're fitting in protein ice creams, protein bars? I'm not saying that you are, but do you think they would do that? Do you think you would do that?
Yeah, I definitely think I'm going to do it. 100%. I think that, like, especially to the extent that I do it, it's literally like a couple percent out of my 100%. Like, there's extremes to it. Like 100%. If 50% of your diet is looking a little, why are you making those sort of choices? I get it, cool. Like, you probably would be better routes, but for me personally, like, I'm not having those things often. You know, they're taking up 100 calories out of my 2,600 a day just to hit a spot. Like, other than that, like, everything's spot on. I'm not like Joe and TM Cycles. I can't cook that shit. I keep stuff a little bit cleaner. I'm literally, my meals were literally bagels, chicken rice, chicken potato, oats, and then if I had some yogurt and some xanthan gum, I would literally just mix that with ice because it would blow up to ice cream. So it was literally it. It was nothing crazy.
Yeah, having followed you for like a long time, Josh, I know that like your eating structure is very, very regimented. You know,
For
like
sure, yeah.
I think that's something that you've taken not only in your preps but also in your off seasons. Like, you don't slack. You don't suddenly go like off season and then start eating a crazy flexible diet either. You really have, you know, like
it's the only way to get it in. It's the only way to get all that
exactly at your intake. It's the only way you can bloody do it, you know. So yeah, I think that's pretty cool to see. I think like myself and George both sort of support that idea of trying to put, you know, all your eggs in that basket when it comes to being consistent. And from what I've seen from the outside looking in as well, is like people do tend to suffer a little more post show when they've had that level of flexibility the whole prep, because then they suddenly see what's possible, and then all of those ideas are circulating within their brain every time they get hungry, and it's a fucking shitstorm for your head. Whereas when it's just fairly regimented but nice, enjoyable foods, it's like you can make bodybuilding food taste nice. It doesn't have to taste shit. You can also eat bodybuilding food with your partner like you do. I've seen you have meals consistently with Amy, you know, like, and that's nice to see. I think that's also very important at your level, isn't it? That sort of that message that you deliver, because then people will think bodybuilding is a little bit more of an accessible thing that they can do and still have a girlfriend that doesn't necessarily bodybuild and things like that, you know?
Yeah, I completely agree.
Yeah.
I actually think there's a balance, because when I restricted myself throughout that 37-week prep, I had one day where I had a day off of eating, and I literally couldn't control myself. I had just one day, and I literally couldn't control myself because I restricted myself so much when I had that food. I generally, I think it come down to, at the end of the day, what works best for the individual and you. Like, if you know that that's going to cause a trigger and a problem in your prep, don't do it. Yeah. But if you know that you can control it and you're not bothered about it, then go that route. But certainly, you know, finding that balance is really key. And I think you've been able to do it, like you said, you know, 100 calories a day is on something to satisfy that craving, and as long as 99% of it is decent, that's what matters really. And at the end of the day, you achieve the pro card. So who are we to say that's wrong or this is right, whatever? We can't say anything, because you've proven that it does work for sure. So my question now, what's the plan? Like, obviously I know you've gone into an off season, obviously level up, but can you dive into more of like any particular goals you want to achieve, whether it's lifting goals, whether it's body weight goals, or plans for shows or anything like that?
Yeah. So I've got a hernia, unfortunately, so I've got to go for surgery next week. So that'll be like 4 to 6 weeks until I'm back to a position where I could probably set baselines and go again. So it's going to be a little bit of a while, but ideally have a good old push up from like September to December. I want to surpass my, I mean, I'm only like 5 or 6 kilos. I'm about a stone off where I was in my peak off season, and I'm looking a lot leaner considering. So I'd want to see at least 122 kilos breached. I was like 117 last year, so a good 5-6 kilos. I want to put on, I want to be 100 kilo on stage, so it'd be about 3 to 4 kilo of muscle, ideally for next year. And I want to kind of come back and compete in the pro leagues and men's physique. One more year, or I say one more off season, completely focusing on my upper body, because my upper body grew really, really well the last 18 months, and my legs grew a little bit, but I wasn't really focusing on them. So if I can do that again, put another 3 or 4 kilos kind of in the gaps, probably compete a little bit later. I mean, I always say, like, I don't pick shows based off what's easy or hard. I just pick the shows off what works with the prep and the route to where I want to go. I wanted to compete in June because I know that I had June, July, August to do pro qualifiers. Just obviously got it a lot earlier. Like, I'm going to plan next year like I'm going to the Olympia, you know? So I'm not going to start really early that then I have to come off prep to go back on prep. I'm just going to plan it as though there's maybe 2 or 3, 4 pro shows week in, week out, and there's the Olympia. Like, and I'm going to try and qualify and win, you know, like that's how I want to do it. And then I'm either not going to win and I know what I need to do, or, you know, we'll see what happens. So yeah, that's pretty much what's going to happen.
With your surgery, are you worried at all? Have you thought about obviously how that's going to look? Whilst obviously I know you mentioned you've got a really good quality, you know, doctor who's doing that side of things, surgeon, sorry, but obviously there are some doubts, of course, when it comes 100%. To it. And you know, your midsection has always been very clean, crisp, very presented. I've never seen, oh, Josh looks a little bit bloated, looks a little bit watery there. I've never noticed that with yourself. Is there anything that you're going to do to combat that, or is there anything you can do at all? Is it just how it is what it is, sort of thing?
Yeah, it sort of is what it is. It's a bit annoying, really. I mean, they're not actually cutting any muscle, so you shouldn't lose any feeling. It is laparoscopic, so it should literally just be a tiny little scar above my belly button. So I'm told the aesthetic, I mean, he knows my job, he knows my goals. I said, like, I can't lose feeling, I can't lose the look. And he's like, no, you're not gonna. I mean, he was 100% confident that none of that was going to happen. So it's just coming with like a little bit of a stronger mesh than most people would use, because obviously we're bracing a lot more. But I actually had, when I did post about it, I had a lot of bodybuilders reach out actually, and actually, you know, they were showing me their pictures, and it's just, you can barely even notice it for half of them. Which is good. But yeah, we'll see. I've actually got a scar on my belly button now, which you can't see, you know, from my appendix coming out. So I mean, that hopefully it's small like that one. But that was definitely a concern. It definitely is a concern. So we'll see how it goes.
So look at that. I thought you were going to say something.
That's right. I was going to ask about your, like, the whole sort of perspective of going up a category and going up to classic in the future potentially. Is that something that like does drive you at all? I know that you frequently get this question, mate, but for people that perhaps haven't heard the current answer, what's your sort of perspective on that in the future?
Yeah, I think there's still a level above. I mean, people have to consider I now can't go like compete as an amateur classic. Like, I'm literally, if Z-Bum wasn't Mr. Olympia and he had to qualify, or Rough Diesel, like I compete against that dude. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's literally the level I could be at. So I'm way, way, way off. where that is. I can put on 9 kilos still for my weight category, which is pretty handy for me. And I've just got this thing with men's physique, like it's the thing that I fell in love with. I'm never going to say no to classic. I wouldn't mind 1 Olympia in each. That'd be very lovely. First person to do that. But I think right now I've got this thing with men's physique. I find it quite hard to think, 2, 3, 4 years. I think I much prefer staying very focused on a short-term goal and just giving everything to it. So right now men's physique, but I'm never going to say never to classic.
In the last podcast, you mentioned about pushing blood work a little bit, and that you were a little bit worried about the prep, in the sense that even your starting sort of profiles were looking a little on the edge. How did that end up? Have you had bloods done recently? Are you happier with how it went than you might have thought it did, or how did that turn out?
Yeah, so I measured everything except for my blood work, honestly. And everything was pretty good, like blood pressure, blood glucose, all those type of things.
Sure.
I finished the prep 2 months before I was supposed to, which is going to help a lot. So actually, the cycle, the blast, was the shortest one I've ever done. Like I've never, like from my first one, second one, and the third one, that was the shortest one because I just compete in one, so I didn't have to stay on as long. So then I got the surgery, so I'm like, you know what, there's no need for me to get my blood work done now because I'm at least out for another 5 to 6 weeks. So I'm gonna wait until I get actually maybe 2 weeks post surgery, and I wouldn't have trained, and I'm hoping I'm gonna have some pretty accurate results, because it's very, very irregularly that bodybuilders who get blood work done have not been trained as well. So it affects your kidney markers. And actually, to be fair, the kidney markers were the ones that were a little bit dodgy for me. But I trained fucking legs the day before my blood work, right? So it just skews things too much. So post surgery, about 2 weeks, technically I should be in the healthiest place, but then we'll assess from there. And
that's one thing I love about you, Josh, is you're quite extreme with what you do. Obviously that's sometimes that you're negative as well, because the risks factors are there. But one thing that I've learned is just take risk in life. If you want something, you're going to find a way of doing it. And I've got a lot. Yeah, I look up to you in that, in terms of being quite extreme with sort of things. You won't let things stop in your way. Obviously, there is a balance. You can't take it too far. Does that, as weird as it sounds, does that ever scare you? Like, with you and that mindset. Like, I'm quite an extreme person, and sometimes, like, even with my own health at the moment, I've just thought of I'm young, I can recover from it, and I actually haven't been able to recover from it. Do you feel like for yourself, like your extreme mindset might bite you on the ass one day, or is it just the case you're not bothered? It is what it is.
No, I definitely think about it. For sure. It's one of my biggest fears in steroids. I think, like a lot of things, you do get more slowly numb to it. So the guys who've 10, 15 years aren't thinking about, I've been doing steroids in 15 years, what impact is that going to have? Because they're used to it, they're fine. But I'd like to think I'm not going to play that game and be 10, 15 years down the line still doing big cycles and trying to push things and thinking, I still feel fine. Because it's not like what that one cycle does to you. It's what the repeated cycling. And I did a video on this today, actually. When you get your Medichex blood work, it's in the red or in the green. If you spend more and more time in the red, over a long period of time, that red's going to catch up with you. So I'm not ignorant to that fact. And I try and take as calculated choices as I can to ease my worry about that. For example, I have, I get my heart scanned every single year. I have an ambulatory heart monitor every single year because I've had a little bit of a heart palpitation issue, but that's all sorted. And I do my due diligence, but it's still a thing in my head that probably keeps me from doing something too silly. Not I think there is, because I don't think the people around me would ever push me that hard either. But you don't want to become one of those stories, right? Josh was the kid who did everything right. Josh was the kid who didn't start his first cycle too high. Josh was the kid who talks about biomechanics and injuries. And if Josh is the kid who snaps his pec off his shoulder after talking about all this stuff, or Josh is the kid who takes too much gear after talking about all this stuff, you become that story. And I don't want to become that story either. So, but I also want to be real in the fact that you sometimes got to take those risks, and I'm just going to put my wrists out on the table, and you can follow the journey. And when I have to pull back and make that decision, people will see that as well.
100%.
Yeah. It's a sport of extremes at the end of the day, isn't it? Regardless of how safe you are, you can't expect to be winning pro cards and trying to get to the Olympia and have everything look perfectly pretty on your blood work. It's just not going to happen. So yeah, should we do some questions, George?
Yes, happy to do some questions.
Okay, cool. First question is, what were your initial feelings and thoughts like the morning after winning your pro cards? You woke up, you're a pro. What was the feeling? What were the thoughts?
Oh, I still feel like it today, man. Honestly, I just pure joy, like relief, just pure relief, ecstasy, pure joy, just a real sense of achievement. It was real sense of achievement because, as you guys know, it's a long fucking journey, right? I don't know. Do any of you guys play RuneScape? I don't know if you ever did. So when you get a level, so like they have levels, right? And there's a top level 99, you get a completionist cape.
Yeah.
Like I remember getting those, and it takes like months and months and months to get one, and like it was like getting that cape was unbelievable. So it was like getting my achievement cape in real life that I'd put like 5-6 years into, and it was everything I imagined it to be, and more. Which the best feeling about it was that I was a little bit like, I hope it's not underwhelming. I hope I don't just get this card and the balloons burst and that's it. But it was just, yeah, it was amazing, man. Really good.
Just a quick one on that. Has that given you any opportunities that you're able to maybe speak about with maybe sponsorships, maybe affiliate? Has that opened doors up at all? Is it still very early doors? Because I've seen obviously a lot with like Gymshark and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Does that open up more opportunities in terms of that? Is that the route that you obviously CBum is a big influence for that? And I could see that. Is that something that you're looking to maybe go down?
I don't think the doors open up now. I think that the weight of being an IFBB pro will pay dividends in time. Like people are going to click on me more. People are going to stick around more. People are going to take what I say with more weight. I don't know. I don't necessarily believe that should be the case, that they should take my word over someone else's word because I've got a card and I maybe genetically got dealt a better card, and et cetera, et cetera. But like that's the way it's going to be over a long period of time. So yeah, like I don't think actual title of IFBB Pro holds significant weight with like sponsors and stuff, but it's going to give me more weight with social media, which is the main thing that they look at probably.
100%.
Yeah.
What's the next goal in life after becoming pro? So not so much within the competitive nature of the sport, but just in life itself.
I guess I want to build my businesses, build my personal businesses into machines that are going to set me and my family up for the rest of their lives. Pretty soon, you know, like I'd like to do that sooner rather than later. Both my parents are erring on retirement. I want to, you know, go see the world of them and do things and be able to help them do the things that they want to do for the rest of their lives. And same with my girlfriend's family.
So do you see your investment and time, effort going into more, let's say, because businesses are never automated, but more of the product, you know, more of the, it sits there, it makes money. Yes, you have to be attentive. Yes, you have to pursue growth, but it's not, let's say, coaching and sitting at a desk all day and replying to actual human beings.
Yeah, 100%. I definitely see that. I guess you call it like an online persona, being like the driver of a couple of businesses that don't necessarily need, you know, me to be hands-on coaching. I love coaching. I'm probably going to be coaching for a very long time, but I would like to see my my scope of how many people I need to, you know, how many people I need to coach comes narrower and narrower as my other, you know, fingers and pies get bigger and bigger. And like I got a few business ideas that I want to bring to the table soon. So I'm just going to keep expanding like that, really.
Yeah, awesome to follow, man. Would you say there's any sort of like strength standards that you would look at? Like basically the question is natural strength standards before progressing over to using PEDs. Is this something you believe in? Do you think there's a level of strength you should be at before you consider going across to the assisted side?
Some strength probably going to be correlated with some type of experience. Yeah. So, you know, generally the stronger you are, the probably more experienced you're going to be. But You know what? I always find this question quite difficult because I always think like, when did C-Bub start gear? You know, he's like 25 or something, right? When did it start gear? Probably when they were noobs and like 17 at school. So sometimes I'm like, I don't know, but just like anyone, do your due diligence about the drugs, but do your due diligence about training, nutrition, recovery, understand those things, live and breathe them for a few years, you know, put those platforms down, put those baselines down, and then whatever you want to decide, you decide.
Yeah, I'd agree with that front for sure. With the coaching clients that you have at the moment, what would you say the ratio is between natural and enhanced clients?
Probably 80% natural, 20% unnatural.
Okay.
And I think probably more unnatural people are coming now because they're starting to see the results of what happens. I think probably people just needed to see what the results were going to be. I mean, it's been 3 years now that I've been using and learning as well, and kind of being in depth with it. So yeah, right about that.
Do you find yourself like, the more people that you work with assisted, the more confidence you build in that side of coaching? Did you find it quite difficult to do the first few clients that you coached and you're asking, Cal more questions, or, reaching out to, more forums? Like what sort of approach have you had there?
So I definitely I invested thousands and thousands into like seminars or Skype calls with people who I would consider at the forefront of using anabolic steroids for like a good 2 years. Like I've only been coaching anabolics for maybe 6 to 8 months. Really not very long. I had to also go through multiple issues myself, and then I actually started with a steroid age limit. Like either you've never done them before or you've done very little before. And then the more and more I developed my own knowledge, the more I developed how different things work, the older the age I would take on. And just build up that. And yeah, but definitely confidence builds with each person, and the more confidence builds in knowing that the approach that I've taken it is the smart one. It makes sense. It is the safer use model. It's it's unique to each person. There is like, the reason why I don't talk about my cycles, because it is actually unique to me. Like, because I've had people on similar things at some point and they just don't get on with it. So you have to change that and adapt on the thing. So that's why I got to be a little bit careful talking about it.
Yeah. I'm sure that sometimes, especially when you're quite honest, you do get people probably messaging you quite frequently about cycles and stuff like that, and that probably would annoy the fuck out of me, not gonna lie.
Yeah,
it's some little 16-year-old kid talking about a cycle, something stupid like that,
For sure. You got to filter through, because you get some kids who are just like, what's the best gear to take, bro? And I'm just like, come on, like, let's not have this conversation. But then you might have someone who, he's 32 years old, he's been doing X, Y, and Z, he's tried this, he's tried that, and he's lost. And you have that, sometimes you have that moral obligation to be like, right, I'm gonna just give you a little bit of a hand and just nudge you in the right direction here.
For sure. Yeah,
100%. Do you think when you bring your numbers down in terms of client total, do you think you'll focus primarily on competitors? Is that what you really are most passionate about, sort of getting people on stage, or do you like the people that are just genuinely invested in the process, regardless of whether they're going to get up there or not?
Yeah, I definitely think if someone's committed, that's what I love. I do like the competitive side. Sometimes it's a bit all in. You've got to be all in for those clients. They're really all in.
Yeah.
I think you'd be a disservice if you weren't, talking to them every day, trying to learn their body like your own body. So it is quite all in. So I'd probably just have a limit on those clients. But then I'll people who just want to work. I love people who are lost and they're just putting their hand up, and you just grab onto it and you say, let's fucking go then, and they just like take it and they run with it and they change their lives from it. Those are the most satisfying ones for me. Yeah, for sure.
What plans you got with WNMR? Like, I saw you obviously with I think it's a rope. We've got a rope coming out, haven't you?
Yeah, but it's a long rope, an elongated rope. Yeah. I thought, why is everyone using 2? Let me make 1.
Yes.
But yeah, like just these little things that you see bodybuilders use day in, day out, slowly but surely, it's all going to be WNMR. That's the goal, is just to take over that side of the game. But obviously build a brand with a lot of meaning behind it. It's a mindset, it's a lifestyle that we like to live. And like, it's a real community. Like, people, they live it, they breathe it. Like, I get tagged in 30, 40, 50 things a day on the WNMR account, and I'm like, this is this is just ridiculous that we're building this community, and it's a privilege, to be honest. Like, it really, really is, to be in this position. So we just keep building that. And there may be some supplements on the way, but we'll keep that on the quiet for now.
Ooh. Exclusive for the people that listen to this.
Yeah, exactly. That is an exclusive. That's a clickbait.
That's something that interests you then, because and I know AJ is very similar when it comes to the supplement side of it. It's not something that really, I think there's so many complications when it comes to it. Sure. And there's a lot of things that you need to consider, like even just like taste testing, crazy.
For sure.
Is that something that you're really interested in?
For sure. I think what I'm interested in is doing things that are just good. Like, this is going to be a really good pre-workout. You can take this, this is really good clothing. You can wear this. This is a really good carabiner, better than the one that you use. Like, normally you can use this. Like, that's kind of where I want to be in everything bodybuilding. I mean, I don't want to use JP as the model, but JP is a big inspiration to what he's done. He's saturated the clothing, he is UK clothing bodybuilding style, really. He's the UK gasp, if you want to call it, and he's done the same thing with supplements. He's like, I take these certain supplements, I'm going to make them really fucking good, and then I'm going to put my name on it because people are going to support me. That's the same thing as me. Like, I want all these certain supplements that I use every single day. I want the best ones, and I'm sure that other people are going to want the best ones. So the hundreds of people in my DM saying, where'd you get this? Eventually it's going to be, you can just come here, one of my shop. So
have you got plans? Because I know you've obviously thought about potentially, gym one day. That's something that, are you still thinking about, or is it something that you're going to do? Because obviously that's a big commitment.
Yeah, that is.
Obviously you're building up the rest of what you're doing. There's an opportunity for you to do that. Is that something that you're going to make sort of like a JP Corin exclusive to themselves and maybe trust trainers that are serious, or is that something that you're going to go, right, I'm going to take this to a whole nother level, and we're going to be a complete brand, and this is going to be the gym that you need to be training at, and you need to be moving location and training here all the time?
I'm not 100% sure yet, because I think a dream like that, the latter one, is slightly out of my wallet by about a couple million. So it's gonna, like, the dream's gonna have to start small. Like, I've been really, really thinking about it. I mean, I've always thought about building a gym myself. Something similar to what that Corin's is, but maybe Corin and Jordan's, but maybe just more geared towards the content side. I want, like, maybe some studios in there that I can use for podcasts, and bring some more visuals to the thing. And obviously I can film everything I need to for my YouTube in there. It would be a big investment, but I'm thinking sometime next year, if I can generate enough income this year, basically, if I can generate enough money to do it, then it'll be feasible. But I think, I still think it's going to be a lot more money than I think it's going to be. So it's definitely in the pipeline. It's definitely going to happen at some point.
First bit of kit you'd buy, first on the list?
You know what? It'd probably be leg equipment.
Yeah,
like, it probably would.
Yeah,
but I don't even even know that I've just said this whole podcast that I've only focused on my upper body for the last 18 months. It'd still be leg equipment. It would be, probably have to get on the order list for Atlantis pendulum, because it will take so long to come. That's probably what I'll do.
Yeah, that's what. Yeah.
To be honest, if you got an Atlantis pendulum and then you just got like one of those prime multi dual cable stacks, you'd be fine.
Yeah,
you can train your entire upper body on that cable stack. No issues.
Honestly, cable stacks are the one. Save my quarantine, that did.
Yeah. Have you seen Hunter Labrada's setup at the Labrada nutrition place?
Dream. That's the dream, right?
That's it. Just like
that's the dream.
That's in a warehouse as well, so you could have all your 1MR products, everything.
Exactly, but that's exactly what the dream was. But you know what? In places like London, it's just not possible, man. Like, looking at like a place that was like 1,500 square foot, which is so small. I think Rotherham must be 10 or 15,000 plus. And
Yeah,
like
it is.
60,000 pound a year. I'm just like, this is that's probably what Rotherham pay for the whole thing. It's actually ridiculous. So maybe if my girlfriend gets another job, we'll migrate somewhere.
Yeah, somewhere where you can get a massive unit.
Just go Texas.
Mate, house prices in Texas as well. Just everything's.
I know.
You can get a mansion for like 500K.
It's mental. Yeah, it's mental.
Anyway, Awesome. George, have you got anything else to ask Josh at all?
No, I think we've covered
Yeah, I think we've covered a good amount.
Questions. Yeah, all good. All good.
Fantastic. Mate, we really appreciate your time. And that's a really nice little catch up. Thanks again for coming on, dude.
Thanks for having me. No worries.
Best luck for your surgery as well, mate.
Yeah, cheers for that.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Yeah, fantastic, mate. We'll catch you soon. And
yeah,
I wish you the best of luck with the surgery. I hope it all goes okay.
Nice one.
Lots of love.
Yeah, cheers, guys.
See you later,
Peace.
mate.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
AJ, what's your how's prep? Because we need a little update from you, mate. We haven't had an update.
Straight in. Jesus
Straight
Christ.
in.
You don't even wrap up Josh.
Okay.
That was a lovely discussion there, wasn't it?
Yeah, I love Josh. You know, he's down to earth. He's very honest. He says it how it is. He does his thing his own way, and I kind of respect that a lot. You know.
Yeah,
for sure.
Me too. And I know for a fact all of these things are going to come to fruition, like the takeover, the gym, the gym equipment, your handles, your cuffs. That everything will be from him. It's already, you walk into most gyms and most of them have got a 1MR cuff in there. So that's so cool to see him saturating into those industries, and definitely inspiring as well. Inspiring for me, sort of at the very sort of starting phases of a little clothing business. It's inspiring to see him sort of make such huge leaps and progressions into different avenues. Like whenever I load up the page, he's always doing something new and novel. It's pretty damn cool. But yeah, anyway, enough bumming, Josh. Let's update on the prep. Yeah. So everything's going really, really smooth, actually, to be honest. I came up sort of last week to a little bit of training fatigue and a little bit of like interrupted sleep. And I was like I was looking at sort of the paradigm of the pattern since my last deload, my last sort of phase of pulling back fatigue. And it's been quite a while. It's been sort of 6-7 weeks since I've done an actual full on devolume. So I'm probably due one in the near future, just to sort of bridge that gap before I push harder. But then I sort of reviewed how much caffeine I was having a day, and I'd got into that sort of bad habit of just using it as a bit of a crutch, really. So it's getting a little bit of that morning fatigue, and I was just sort of using caffeine as like a thing to sort of pull me out of that, when in reality, all it was doing was pulling me out for a little bit, and then I just sort of feel a bit tired again. So I'm basically just feeling a little bit more tired, but that's as a result of the poor sleep quality, and that's as a result of the high caffeine. So pull down the caffeine, my sleep quality improved, and now my energy is good all the time, all throughout the day. So they hit sort of the 177s this morning. So that's now looking at how much body weight off, almost 25 pounds, and probably at least another 15 to go. Actually more than that. 17, 18 pounds to go, in my opinion. We'll see what it takes. It might take even more like that. It might take 20. It might take me getting into sort of the 150s this year, which I very much expect at some point. Whether or not that happens for the first show, we'll see. But I'm still losing at the sort of like £2 a week mark. So with being sort of, basically 15 weeks out as of talking right now, 14 and a half, it's more than doable to take off 20 pounds of body weight if I have to. That £2 a week isn't at the moment having any negative effects in terms of performance, not having any massive effects in terms of insatiable appetite, or like the only sort of bit of hunger that I'm genuinely being honest with this is sort of just at the back end of the day where I'm less busy, and I sort of realize, okay, I'm a little bit hungry, but all it is like, okay, I've just got to stop eating, and then I just go to bed. It's usually just tiredness, really, that kind of makes it feel like you're really, really hungry, when in reality you just need to go to bed. And Loz has probably noticed that I'm just a little bit more quiet in the evenings. Like I don't really want to chat as much. I just want to just sit and just chill. And that's not because I'm like in a bad mood or anything. It's just because I'm running low on energy. Like my battery level is down. And that's something that I think, whilst we did talk about Josh and his girlfriend not being involved in bodybuilding, I think sometimes it is important to have someone that does know what that feels like, because when they do know what that feels like, you can sit there with your low battery level, and they can appreciate that and understand, like, okay, I know why you're not chatting to me. It's not because you're being a dick, it's because you're just tired. So Yeah, mate, I'm feeling pretty. What did you say, mate?
Also, in a sense, it's like you kind of have to like preserve your energy for what's important in that day,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. And you have to sacrifice elsewhere. That's what happened. My parents. My parents obviously kept asking me, "You okay? You okay?" And obviously, my partner at the time was like, "You okay? You okay?" And I just tell them like I've got more focus on my training. My training is going to be important, and work, and things like sitting down, talking to you. Unfortunately, or spending time with you. You just want to be on your own sometimes. As weird as it sounds, like you just want to sit on your own and have no distraction. Like it came to a point when I don't know if you ever have this, but eating, I want to eat and cook on my own. I don't want no one around me. Like it's so weird. Like I just
I
don't
haven't
want to
got to
do
that
it.
point yet, but I know what you mean.
Yeah. It's kind of, you have to preserve your energy in a weird sense. Anyway, sorry, I interrupted, mate.
Yeah, no, I do agree. You really have to sort of just pour the energy into the things that matter. And obviously, like from wake until around about 6, 7 p.m., that's me pouring it into all my client check-ins, the work that I've got there, the training session, the posing after. And then once I've done all of that, I'm like, right, now I'm done. I'm basically, my energy's gone. I've got to just sit down and do basically nothing for like 2 hours and then go to bed and do it all over again. So yes, that sort of rinse repeat process, which is why I massively respect people who, Ben Howard, for example, great example. He has kids, so he's got to come home from a whole day of personal training and coaching, and then you play with his kids and entertain them and smile and that's crazy, and that's what I think really shows mental resilience and enjoyment for the sport, and also just shows that he's probably learned his lessons over the years that he's competed. He's probably got better at handling that balance. We should have Ben on at some point, actually, mate. We really should have a bit of a catch up with him and see how his prep's going, because he's getting on stage this year. So very excited to see what he brings. But yeah, mate, as a whole, sort of my end, cannot complain. And I think that things should roll very smoothly for the next month. And then I'll be sort of into the 160s pretty soon. And then that's where 160s for me is where things start to look like what you would call pretty lean from the front and from the side. And then low 160s into 150s is where we'll start seeing a little bit more in that sort of glute hamstring area. And we'll really start to figure out whether I've got the minerals to get it all the way this year, which I have. I know I have. I've just got to get it done. So at the end of the day, it's just more time spent at deficit. But I think looking at the prep now and looking at how much I've lost, even though it's been good from strength retention aspects, not had too high abs or anything like that, I don't think I need to get as heavy as I did. And I know I said that even last year. I said I don't think I need to start as heavy, and that push up, as much as it was effective, I think I'm starting to see that I could have probably started 10 pounds lighter and just made this prep 10 pounds easier, probably. So again, you should just learn lessons. I think 190 would have probably been just heavy enough to yield new tissue, to yield all of the performance PBs that I hit. And that extra 10 pounds was just sort of a little bit of shit weight that really didn't need to be there. So yeah, live and learn.
Yeah. Do you think that maybe going up to, let's say 190, 200 before, and then coming maybe back down, or maybe sort of then coming down to, let's say 175, and then kind of spending a little time maybe maintaining or doing the calories, then starting a prep like that would be more beneficial. So you reap the rewards of going up to that 200 pound, you maybe come back down a little bit, tidy it up, then spend that time sort of holding it, like I said, and then going into a prep.
Yeah, I think there's so many strategies you can look at. What's the best approach? Should you go up all the way there, come back down, solidify, go again? I think the younger you are, the more that those big push-ups are absolutely essential. I think, when we're young and we can sort of build muscle at a slightly faster rate, we can benefit from those larger surpluses, and we're still building a lot of our baseline level of muscle tissue. I think it bodes relevance doing that, but I'll be 26 next year. I'm getting away from being a young bodybuilder, and I'm moving into sort of a bit of an older dude. So I don't probably need to be doing those massive push-ups anymore. I more so need to be gaining strength, solidifying muscle tissue, earning density. And that maybe doesn't need to be done at such a heavy body weight. I think I could stay a little leaner as I get older. I think there's just going to be benefits in terms of how I'm going to mobilize body fat off the really stubborn areas like the glutes. If I just keep them a bit leaner in the off season, I think they're going to be a lot less of a hassle to get lean in the future. Even like my quads, for example, because I've built a lot more tissue there and just I've stayed a little leaner in some areas just due to body fat distribution, they've been so much easier to get lean. I remember in 2017, for example, I had to wait like 3-4 weeks out to get, quad detail up to my hip. And I've already got pretty much quad detail up to my hip now. So it's just about now it's like with the quads, it's just sort of like all of the inner workings of the adductors, the inner thigh, all of that will start to, separate a little bit further as we get, another 10 pounds off. So, but in natural bodybuilding in general, mate, I said this to Thorburn the other day, every prep you do, you almost like underestimate how much there is always to come off. And you always do that because there's always probably another pound that you could probably pull off somewhere. Even when people think they're all the way in, there's probably another pound or 2 pounds that they could probably get off, unless you're like Ben Howard or Brett Freeman or Brian Whitaker. When you're at that level of just, there's literally fucking nothing left to pull. But the aim is to get as close to that level as I can with my current level of muscle mass. So I'm just going to keep pulling away. So exciting times.
100%. I've got nothing to report about training or anything like that. But
no, I know, mate. You're still not training, are you?
It's sad. I feel so small and depleted, and I look at myself and like 2.5 weeks. I've never taken 2.5 weeks in the 6 years I've trained, and it's hard mentally. It's quite hard, but I know, I've been training 6 years, man. It's going to come back. So
it will.
Unfortunately, yeah, all that sort of stuff. And if anything, I'm using this time to actually give my joints a bit of a break. Like I remember when I had a little bit of knee issues or niggles like that. Perfect opportunity for me to have a break, and I'm more motivated than ever to get back into it. So hopefully I can give you some updates very, very soon with training.
I think for sure, mate, you should take some starting photos when you do start the sort of the rebuild phase, because I think it would be really cool. Like you obviously don't have to post them when you take them, but like you can take them and then you can post them side by side with what happens in 4 weeks after that. And then it will really be a nice thing for people to see, okay, I've had 2 weeks off, I've been ill or had a surgery or something like that. And they can come to that post and see how quickly it does come back, because it really, really will come back pretty quick, mate.
Yeah, it will. I'm excited for that as well. Kind of fresh start as well. Everything is just needed.
Yeah, so for sure.
Yeah, mate, we've been talking for a while. Wow, yeah,
we have, I think an hour or so. So, yeah. When's the next vloggy vlog coming out?
Oh, I'm going to do like a 2-week smoke-free update and stuff like that.
Okay.
And it's quite hard because obviously I'm not training at the moment. So getting any content is like, especially when it comes to training, it's quite easy to do. So it's a bit dead. So I'm trying to find other ways of doing things and just being myself. Just even if I just go out for a day with these, I might just record it, and just people seem to enjoy that. Like when I went up to Lake District and recorded, people somehow enjoyed watching a video of me just being in Lake District.
I enjoyed it. Yeah, I've enjoyed it.
Unfortunately, that video will be coming down. So by the time you've listened or watched this podcast, it won't be there anymore. It'll be
fucking hell. Oh well, mate. Oh well. Right.
Yep.
Okay. Lovely podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we really appreciate it, and thank you for the support on the one that went live last week. I'm always shocked by the views, man. I just don't know how like so many people watch this.
And that's on YouTube. Like
the just YouTube, like, yeah,
it's just crazy. YouTube alone. Yeah, it is crazy. So thank you for everyone that watches. I appreciate it, and listens, of course.
All right, guys. Comment below. Comment below what?
Bottle, as I've got a bottle.
Comment below bottle. All right. Good night.